counsel for the parties as well as the senator judges. So ordered. In relation to the condition of Edward Fajarda, I am in receipt of a report by Dr. Season, the Bureau Director of the Medical and Dental Bureau rather of the Senate, confirming the condition of Mr. Eduardo Fajarda, that he is recommended to have bed rest or to rest for 2 weeks, which began last August 20 and which shall end on September 3. Chair therefore instructs the clerk of court to issue the corresponding subpoena in the subsequent trial date on September 7, 2025 at 10 a.m. The court would also like to note and point out the manifestation yesterday of Attorney Sheila on the 5-day notice rule. When we checked the TSN just to make sure, the 5-day notice rule applies to witnesses not mentioned in the pretrial order. In regard to witnesses mentioned in the pretrial order, it will not apply, although as the chair already stated yesterday, you still have enough time, Attorney Sheila, because I think you will be able to cross Colonel, who's the first, would you know, Attorney May, who's the first witness, if ever, that you will call a Colonel?
Colonel Boransing, Your Honor.
If at all, the cross-examination of Colonel Boransing will happen on a Monday, so you still have more than enough time to prepare for your cross of the good Colonel. Then Tuesday, then more than enough time. Yes, Attorney Sheila.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Your Honor, I would just like to return to the presiding officer's statement on the application of the 5-day ruling or schedule for the disclosure of the witness. If I may just be clarified, because as far as I recall, this 5-day ruling was a product of the proposal and counter-proposal between the prosecution and defense during the pre-trial stage. In fact, when the prosecution submitted its proposal, its written proposal, the initial proposal by the prosecution was only for a 3-day prior period to disclose the witnesses. But we counter-proposed that parties be allowed at least 5 days so that each party may be given ample time to prepare for the examination of the witnesses. And so I'm partly confused, Your Honor, as to the statement that the 5-day rule only applies as to the witnesses who were not disclosed in the pretrial order.
When we checked, counsel, that was the ruling on the chair. In fact, twice. In fact, however, having said that, this situation is unique, as pointed out by the lead prosecutor yesterday, because their intended witness is unavailable because of an ailment, and that they had to fill in with a new witness who is in the pretrial order. And given the amount of time being spent on the witnesses and the interjection of judges, in any case, you will still have your 5 days, in fact, more than 5 days, Attorney Sheila, for this witness.
Yes,
and the presiding officer will be conscious of the fact that as much as possible, the witnesses for the following week should be announced by the lead prosecutor on a Wednesday the week before.
Okay.
To afford ample time for both sides to prepare, even when it comes, when your time comes, Attorney Sheila, to present your evidence in chief.
I understand, Your Honor, but if I may just be allowed also to explain further my concern. My concern is that if this is the new rule moving forward, that it would seem to me that there would be no more period or prior period to be observed in relation to the disclosure of witnesses for the following days or hearing dates, then that would be a concern, not only for the defense, but also for the prosecution when the time comes for the defense to present its witnesses. And so, and also, I recall that at the start of this trial, the court made it clear that, as the presiding officer had said, the parties must disclose their intended witnesses for the next week at the end of the hearing scheduled for the week prior. And so, even if I do not want to dispute what the presiding officer had said regarding the TSN or the records about this ruling, but just so parties are guided, may we now ask if the 5-day prior rule will still govern the proceeding moving forward?
As a rule, subsequent witnesses for the following week should be announced in open court the Wednesday of the previous week.
Okay,
So kung sino man po yung mga testigo, sa darating na linggo, Lunes hanggang Martes, Miyerkules, dapat sabihin na sa huling araw ng paglilitis ng linggo bago yung susunod na linggo. Maliban na lang, ulitin ko, kapag may pagkakataon tulad ngayon, na medyo kakaiba naman, para hindi masayang yung oras at panahon ng husgado, kakaintay sa testigong hindi maganda ang karamdaman. So as a rule, counsel, yes, and we will make sure to afford time, and if you cannot, if you need more time, the court will be lenient in order to provide adequate time to prepare in fairness for both parties, not only the counsel for respondent.
All right,
Your
Your
Honor,
Honor, we
please.
submit with that clarification.
Thank you.
Your
Yes,
Just for purposes of
Honorable Ministro?
clarity, Your Honor.
Yes, Honorable Lisa?
Because we acknowledge that we are still adopting and maintaining the
5 days.
certain number of days required before the hearing for the succeeding week. But I understand the concern of Attorney Sheila from 5 days. Perhaps we can place it on record to change the 5-day notice rule to 4-day notice rule. That is to be consistent with Wednesday, Your Honor, as the submission of the witnesses for the succeeding week.
It's the same, counsel. Wednesday, Monday would be the 5th day, so that's still 5 days. It's not necessarily 5 days prior. Let's stick to what was originally agreed, and by way of exception, as the need arises, we will cross the bridge when we get there and still ensure that both parties will be given adequate time and will be given fair shake
Thank
to
you, Your Honor.
prepare
Just
for the witness.
one more point, Your Honor.
Yes, Attorney
Just to
Sheila?
avoid any ambiguity, may we also request a disclosure be made via email, Your Honor, so that the disclosure be received by the other party in a timely
Via
manner.
email
Thank you.
before the trial on Wednesday, because on a Wednesday we'll hear it anyway.
We're
Attorney
okay
Sheila.
at the end of the trial day on Wednesday, Your Honor.
But we'll hear it anyway in open court.
Well, whether they do it in the morning or if they choose to do it after the hearing on Wednesday. Your
And
Honor. Thank you.
one more thing, Honorable Luistro, Chair would like to remind the prosecution to kindly submit the proposed circumstances or stipulation, facts for stipulation and documents for stipulation at least a day before the witness is set to be presented, so that the counsel for respondent will have ample time to review, study it, and hopefully shorten the proceedings by stipulating to it. Same ruling applies to the counsel for respondents when their time comes to present their evidence in chief.
We know the
We
instructions, Your
submit, Your
Honor.
Honor.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of Senator Judge Zubiri?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. President. Before we adjourn today's session, I'd just like to ask, broad strokes, the timelines moving forward for the impeachment proceedings, because we're also entering the budget season. As a matter of fact, Monday to Wednesday, nandito na po tayo from 9 to, well, ako kasi majority leader po tayo, so I'm last to leave. So 9 to 8, nandito po ako, kasama na ibang mga kasamahan ko dito. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday is hearing of our committees. And we have only one day to have our committee hearings. And so we just like to be guided accordingly. Once the budget starts being discussed, all departments will be coming here. Thursday, Friday, Saturday siguro, abot tayo ng Saturday. So wala nang pahinga yung mga staff natin. I just want to know from the presiding officer, what is the plan? Are we going to take this all the way up to December? Because Burr months are fast approaching. I think in 2 weeks' time, Jose Marichan will be singing again in all the malls. Kidding aside, we just need to be guided accordingly for our legislative calendar as well, Mr. President, presiding officer. Just broad strokes, maybe from the prosecution. Do we know, are we going to finish this before the December break? Because we want to know if we're going to continue all the way till February on this topic, so that in the legislative calendar, we can also make adjustments. Meron po tayong legislative calendar that we approve both houses. So at least kami, also, if there's an impeachment calendar, then we can be guided accordingly because the chairman of the Committee on Finance is heavily stressed out. Every time I see him, he doesn't know how we're going to have the hearings all together, Mr. President, Mr. Presiding Officer. Just some queries, administrative queries, so that we can move forward and make both the impeachment calendar and the legislative calendar work for these two proceedings, which is basically the impeachment and legislation.
To respond to Senator Judge Zubiri, in broad strokes, the presiding officer is optimistic and hopeful that we will complete these proceedings before the end of the year. Second, we will be having a more specific schedule for the impeachment once our chair of the Committee on Finance comes up with his calendar for the deliberation on the budget. Given that that is the most important piece of legislation that the Senate as a legislative body is supposed to pass, we have to allocate enough time for that to ensure its passage before the end of the year, giving due consideration to the Bicameral Conference Committee as well as inputs coming from the House of Representatives through the GAB. So once that comes out, Senator Judge Zubiri, we can roughly give you a picture and idea with respect to the timeline and the schedule, and if we will shift, and if we will indeed shift, how and when. Also for the information of the parties. There be no other matters to take up and discuss. Again, tomorrow we shall have your first, the cross-examination of Mr. Ortonio. But before that, the comment of Attorney Ligutan, the ruling of the chair with respect to the August 12 manifestation of Attorney Sheila, and then redirect, recross, and intervention of the senator judges in relation to Mr. Ortonio, and if we still have enough time for the prosecution's next witness.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are here in the MMDA at kakatapos lang ng briefing on the effects of the monsoon na nakikita natin kung ano yung naging epekto lalong-lalo na dito sa Metro Manila, sa National Capital Region. At sa ating nakuhang briefing ay nakita natin may mga lugar na talaga namang tinamaan pa rin ng baha pero mas bawas na. Kung dati ay 2 stories ang baha, ngayon siguro hanggang tuhod na lang. Yung iba hindi na nabaha. At ang isa pang bagay dyan ay mas mabilis na ang paglabas ng tubig. At kung dati mag-aantay ang tao ng 2-3 araw bago mawala yung baha, ngayon wala pang 1 araw wala na. At sa loob ng 5 oras, 201 millimeters. Ito ay katumbas ng 44% bumagsak itong tubig ito in 5 hours. This is 44% of the water, the rain that fell during Typhoon Ondoy over a period of 24 hours. So 1/2 of the water volume that fell for 24 hours in Typhoon Ondoy, this time within 5 hours, 44% of that. So it was 201 millimeters that fell in 5 hours, and that is yan ang ating ngayon na hinaharap dahil nga sa climate change, dahil yung Ondoy was special, was unusual. Now this is a little bit becoming a little bit like the new normal. Makita natin na maganda naman ang naging epekto, patuloy yung ating dredging, yung ating mga pininspeksyon, yung pinalaki natin ng mga drainage systems, naglagay tayo ng malalaking tubo. Kung maalala ninyo, meron tayong mga pinuntahan na pinalitan yung mga after World War II pa yung mga drainage na ginawa. Ay pinaltan natin yung maliliit na concrete na tubo, ay pinaltan na natin yung mga na mas malaki. na tubo para mas mabilis ang paglabas ang pagdaloy ng tubig. Pati na yung mga pumping station natin, we have 73 pumping stations that are all of them are functioning now. Marami doon ay hindi pa nakapag-function, minsan hindi pa gumana yon. Yung mga iba dyan, ngayon napapaandar na natin lahat. At patuloy pa rin ang ating dredging, patuloy pa rin ang ating pagbomba. Ang pumping station, meron pa tayo yung mobile na pumping equipment. We have 11 of those, I believe, that we are also using. Ang tinamaan dito ay 4,700 barangays, 1.7 million families. We have unfortunately already 27 casualties and 17 who are injured. So you can see that the effects of the monsoon has been widespread and severe in terms of its effect. And so moving forward, what we are looking at is meron tayong na-identify, meron na may tumulong sa atin na galing Netherlands na tinuruan tayo at pinag-aralan kung saan, ano ba yung mga iba pwede natin gawin. And those are to na maghuhukay tayo sa ilalim ng mga existing na facilities. Halimbawa, yung mga football field, yung mga open fields, yung mga kahit na may building, pwede namang hukayin yun. And they have already identified 30 sites, some of which are in Raja Sulaiman, Rizal Memorial, Camp Aguinaldo, para sa ilalim lahat ito. Hindi huhukayin ito tapos i-restore naman kung ano yung nandun dati. Sa Camp Aguinaldo, sa UST, at ang natapos na, kaya't meron na tayong 30 na sites na pwede nating gamitin para dito sa mga cistern. At inaantay na lang natin yung detailed engineering at kapag which will be finished kailan kaya?
Hopefully within the month, Mr.
Oh, within this month matatapos na yung detailed engineering. Pag natapos na yung detailed engineering, titignan namin, ipaprioritize na namin, sisimulan na namin ang paghukay. We are already at present time conferring and speaking to the areas, kung sino man ang namamahala doon sa mga area na yon, na pumayag sila para hukayin nga yung kanilang lugar. And we are also looking at the continuing upgrading of, for example, of the seawalls, of all the other detailed management of the flood waters, and that is what we are trying to do. And not only in the initial briefing, doon sa mga huhukayan natin, nalalagyan nga natin ng kung saan natin iipunin yung tubig. Sabi ko pag-aralan natin na imbes na itapon yung tubig sa dagat, ay sana makahanap tayo ng sistema, gagawa tayo ng sistema para kung ano man yung nakolekta na tubig ay magamit din. Magamit for household use, magamit for industrial purposes, magamit for irrigation, whatever uses that we can find for it, para hindi naman masayang dahil nakakapanghinayang makita natin nakapagkolekta tayo ng napakarami na tubig na fresh water, tatapon lang natin sa dagat at kailangan natin yan. There is an interesting statistic here that the 201.7 millimeters na bumagsak na tubig na ulan ay katumbas ng halos 50,000 na Olympic-sized na swimming pool. Kaya you can just para to be able to conceive or to be able to have an image for yourselves kung gaano karami yan. It is 50,000, the equivalent of 50,000 50-meter swimming pools that yung nakikita natin sa Rizal Memorial at sa mga ibang lugar. 50,000 of those size pools, the water that is contained in that was what fell in the past few days. So these are the things that we are doing. We will continue to dredge. Hindi naman titigil yan. Some of the pumping stations have stopped operating because there is no more water. to pump out. But of course, they will stay on station at pagka tumuloy pa yung ulan, then we will continue to do what we had started to do this time. So there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. But with the effects that we have seen, because after all, if we look at the beginnings of the water management that we have done, this is the effect of the work of the last 6-7 months. Nakita natin na nakabawas kaagad, kaya ipapagpatuloy natin ito, and to make sure that we have solutions for the very short term, we have solutions for the medium term, and eventually we will have solutions for the longer term. All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. We are here in the MMDA at kakatapos lang ng briefing on the effects of the monsoon na nakikita natin kung ano yung naging epekto lalong-lalo na dito sa Metro Manila, sa National Capital Region. At sa ating nakuhang briefing ay nakita natin may mga lugar na talaga namang tinamaan pa rin ng baha, pero mas bawas na. Kung dati ay 2 stories ang baha, ngayon siguro hanggang tuhod na lang. Yung iba hindi na nabaha. At ang isa pang bagay dyan ay mas mabilis na ang paglabas ng tubig. At kung dati mag-aantay ang tao ng 2-3 araw bago mawala yung baha, ngayon wala pang 1 araw, wala na. At sa loob ng 5 oras, 201 millimeters. Ito ay katumbas ng 44% bumagsak itong tubig ito in 5 hours. This is 44% of the